Okay, let's go directly to Trump's speech from today, earlier today. This was a great speech. This is just a 3 or 4 minute clip of what Trump says, and then Kennedy's response to it, kind of. But so much to break down here. Trump spoke at the NRA event today, and this is a clip from what he said here. So I'm just going to play this, and I'm going to stop as I need to.
For more than 150 years, the NRA has been defined by men and women like all of you, loyal, hardworking citizens who believe in defending your families and your communities and our country. RFK Jr., I call him Junior. By the way, he's radical left. Don't think about it. Don't waste your vote. We need a conservative person with common sense. This guy is radical left who destroyed New York. They're taking down all of the energy components. We have the highest, and all of New England, actually. He's a disaster. He's radical left. RFK Jr. is radical left. Reminds me of this fly that's driving me crazy up here.
First of all, this shows how quick-witted President Trump is. We're on the fly, no pun intended, but on the fly, where he can react to what he is saying. And there is this fly that is buzzing around President Trump during the speech today in Dallas, Texas. Today being May 18th, 2024, speaking at the NRA convention, or the NRA event, whatever this thing is here. But there are some things that Trump says that are just not right. It is just not true. There's evidence to point to the opposite of what he is saying that is true. Nevertheless, here, this is good stuff. So I titled this one "Fly Like an Eagle." So I feel like Trump is saying Kennedy is a fly, but I see Kennedy as the eagle. That's it. And take it for what you will, but it's pretty interesting how you have this fly that is buzzing around Trump, and then Trump, as soon as Trump starts speaking about RFK Jr., all of a sudden this fly is buzzing around, and Trump's like, even before he starts talking about RFK Jr., the fly is buzzing around. But Trump is so quick-witted that he can tie this thing and make a joke about this and make some comedy here, to say this fly, that he's really seeing RFK Jr. as this fly, right? As this fly, where some of us, Kennedy 2024 supporters, we see Kennedy as the eagle. So it's pretty interesting. I don't know. It will probably make more sense. I'll be able to articulate it better in the book than I can in video. But it's just a fascinating thing to me. Another fascinating aspect of this whole Kennedy and Trump 2024 saga. I'm going to play a little bit more of this. But this is early on too. That's the other thing. This is early on in today's speech. So Trump doesn't hesitate. He mentions all of the people who have been supporting him, and he goes through all of that. But really, the first real topic that he talks about Biden a little bit and the guns and everything, but then he goes into RFK Jr. Anyone who has been paying attention, including President Trump, he knows better. My president in 2016, my president who won 2020, my president who is going to win 2024, he knows better. He knows better. So he's playing that game. That's okay. That's cool. Play the game and we'll sort it out later, right? We'll let God sort it out. We'll let God sort out everything else that happens or has happened. There is an entertainment value here. There's a comedic value. There's some entertainment, but the fly thing is just fascinating. And I've had my own experiences with flies. While you're trying to do a interview, a live interview, and a fly is there, and all of a sudden, and you want to react to it. And Trump is so quick-witted. This is why Biden needs to be scared to debate President Trump on any stage, anytime, anywhere, any place. But this is also a very interesting part here, because when Trump is talking about this, he's talking about RFK Jr. RFK Jr. is a guy who will debate Trump any place, anywhere, anytime. And actually, RFK Jr. threw out the challenge before any of this stuff between Trump and Biden was made official. It's official, and you're going to hear this. Trump is actually going to mention the Libertarian Convention that is coming up in a few short days, the 24th, May 24th, May 25th, May 26th. Trump is going to mention this in this clip here, and he's going to recognize certain things, but he's not going to mention the fact that RFK Jr. challenged him to a debate during that time. He's going to mention that he's going to be speaking, and he's going to give his reasons why it's important to speak at this event. But Trump really needs to understand it's more important to debate RFK Jr. at this event, at the Libertarian Convention. If Trump is convinced that the Libertarian Party, no matter what, is going to be 3% of whatever happens in 2024 on election day, then Trump already recognizes this may be a good idea or a bad idea that he debate RFK Jr. next week during the Libertarian National Convention. If Trump doesn't do it, that's a big deal. Trump is saying, well, RFK Jr. has to meet this threshold. The threshold. I found a good clip where RFK Jr. is saying that he's already met the threshold. Hopefully I can find that, and I'll play that following this here too. But even just some of the things that Trump says about RFK Jr. is not true. These are not accurate facts. RFK Jr. has no issues with changing his views or recognizing his views back then that are different than how he feels now. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing. This is why a debate needs to happen, because I think if Donald Trump does debate RFK Jr., President Donald Trump will realize that his views are very closely aligned with RFK Jr. And this is why so many people think you have them on the same ticket. We're not going to get that. Unfortunately, we're not going to get a ticket with Trump and RFK Jr. That'd be awesome. That'd be great. Maybe it could happen in 2028. Could RFK Jr. nominate Trump as his vice president? I don't know. I don't know if that could happen in 2028, knowing everything. And then if something happened to RFK Jr. in 2028, what does that mean? Does that mean Trump, because he's already served his 2 terms, there's a whole nother issue there. These are rabbit holes here, but just looking at where we're at right now, I'm looking at, and I want to go back to this because I'm getting way off base, because I can go way off base with these 2 guys here. It's very easy because there are so many great things that we could talk about here. I'm just going to go back a little bit here. I'm only 48 seconds in. Let me go back.
It reminds me of this fly that's driving me crazy up here. This fly is brutal. I don't like flies.
This fly is brutal. See, this fly is brutal, and that is what Kennedy can do to him. It's brutal. I don't like flies. Well, Kennedy is the fly. In Trump's eye. But Kennedy is the eagle that flies. Some good stuff there. I don't know. There may be something in a book related to that there somewhere down the line.
But RFK Jr. calls you a terrorist group. You know, he calls you a terrorist group.
See, RFK Jr. did say that. Kennedy did say that at one point. But if you ask him, what are his views today about the NRA? That is what matters, right? And if you ask him, does he think that he was wrong? Were those views wrong? Kennedy has said his views on the border were wrong. Kennedy has said that Trump got it right, basically saying that Kennedy got it wrong back then. So Kennedy has no issue with recognizing that he was wrong way back when, and his views have changed now. So Trump needs to recognize that too. And this is why the debate needs to happen, because Trump can't just hang his hat on things that Kennedy said in the past. We want to talk about, okay, Kennedy said these things in the past. What are Kennedy's views now? In the last 2 years, we have seen a big change. And I know Donald Trump Jr. has come out really attacking Kennedy and saying, well, yeah, he's changed his views here, but he said this. Like, are you going to hold somebody to what they have said in the past? Or are you going to recognize that a person can say that they were wrong and now these are what their views are? Are we going to recognize that? Or are we just going to think, well, they're just playing politics and they're just doing that, when we know the same people that are going after President Trump are going after Kennedy? They're going to look at every little thing. They're going to look at back when Trump said that it's okay to grab somebody by the pussy because they let you do this. They let you do these things, right? They're going these same people are using the same tactics. And I don't want to see Trump fall into that trap. I don't want to see him fall into that trap where he is also saying, well, we're just going to focus on what Kennedy said in the past. Let's not focus on what Kennedy said last year. Let's not focus on what he said in the summer of 2023. Let's not focus on when President Trump said in 2023, in the summer of 2023, that Kennedy was a common sense guy. This is one of my biggest fears about Donald J. Trump, is that he, again, is surrounding himself with some bad characters. He's surrounding himself with some good characters, obviously, but some bad characters. He got it right in 2016, I think. He wanted RFK Jr. to be part of this. He was doing a lot of great things in 2016. He's learned a lot in 2020. We've seen a lot of the people that were surrounded by him have turned on him, and he recognizes who they are. Donald Trump is too smart to fall for that same thing in 2024. So this is why I really believe one of the big reasons why Donald Trump has kind of not really talked too much about RFK Jr. unless he's forced to, is because he understands exactly what is going on here. This is the conquer and divide. They want to divide Kennedy and Trump and put them on separate aisles, separate angles, when really the same people are going after both of them. They're going after both, and they want them to attack each other. This is why I think President Trump does not want to debate RFK Jr., but this is also why I think President Trump needs to debate RFK Jr. This is going to be good for the country. Trump's popularity is so big, I cannot see any way that Trump does not win in 2024. And I only see him helping RFK Jr., him elevating RFK Jr. to that next level is only going to help President Trump. And it just doesn't seem like he feels that same way. He's smarter than I am. So I don't want to speak for him or anything, but if that's how he feels, and that's how he feels. So, got to give the guy his credit, as long as he's not being swayed by people who are in his camp telling him things. And the problem is when he lays some of these blanket statements, some of these statements that he's making about RFK Jr., they are just not true. They are just factually not true. And Trump knows better. So either he's reading off of a script, people are feeding him so much stuff. Trump has been distracted with all of these cases that he doesn't have time to pay attention to everything that RFK Jr. is doing or saying. But if I were Trump, that would be the focus. You got a Kennedy here. You got a Kennedy in 2024. Biden is not the big threat. Now, Biden is the big threat because the handlers, because the same structure, the NWO, that's all Biden. The same NWO, the same global agenda, the same power structure that we have seen that killed Kennedy, pulled off 9/11. This same power structure is what is going after Trump right now. That's what I believe. And Trump is focused on that, which he should be. But he also should be recognizing that Kennedy is not a part of that. RFK Jr. is not a part of that. RFK Jr. is the real deal here. And the problem is when you're being hit by so many different things from so many different angles, you have so many different court cases that could send you to jail. I don't blame Trump for anything that he's doing. It almost seems like RFK Jr. should not be saying anything about Trump, should not be trying to debate, or should not be trying to debate President Trump. But at the same time, this is what makes this is so fascinating, the Kennedy and Trump aspect here, because you have what I believe is two great people, two great human beings here that are running for the greatest office in the greatest country that on God's green earth here. You have Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, the two greatest wrestlers in the realm of politics, who show up, who know up, who do not drink, who do not smoke, and they know what they are doing. These are the two best choices. In my mind, there's no doubt. These are the two guys you want on the ballot. I want Kennedy on the ballot. I want Trump on the ballot. I don't want, the lies, the propaganda, all that. We can move past that. That's what the debates will do. So in one sense, we are seeing President Trump debate RFK Jr. right now, because he's throwing things out there that we know are factually not true about RFK Jr., but he's throwing them out there. He's testing those waters. Remember, Donald Trump wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. This guy is a genius. I mean, for me, this guy is like genius level here, even way before any of, if you, back in the 80s. Back in the 80s, 90s, this guy knows a lot of stuff. This guy promised that he was going to get to the bottom of John F. Kennedy's murder, right? And then we saw what happened there. What does that tell you? Judge Napolitano said that he spoke with Donald Trump, and the judge was like, hey, Trump, you promised back in 2021, whenever, like, hey, you said you were going to do all these things. You didn't live up to that. And Trump was like, oh, tell me what I didn't live up to, and I'll make it right. And the judge is like, you didn't tell us what happened with JFK. And Trump basically said, look, if I told you what I know, you would understand. And so you could take that one or two ways. It's secret knowledge that we're not supposed to know. Or Trump really knows something that we all already know. And that would change the whole game. But the way that they were going after Trump, wouldn't you use that as your trump card? Wouldn't you use that to say, look, I know what happened with JFK. If you guys keep coming after me with all these cases, I'm going to expose you. But that is like negotiating with terrorists, and you cannot negotiate with terrorists. So we'll see what happens there. Let me go back to this. Just a few more minutes with greatest president on God's green earth that was ever elected, got the most votes of any sitting president in the history of the country.
Can't vote for him. You can't, Somebody said, well, they like his policy on vaccine. The other day he said, no, he'll go for the vaccine. He's got no policy on anything. He's radical left.
Kennedy's doesn't have a policy on the vaccine, but it's a choice. The same thing with Trump. Trump is all about a choice. It's not a forced vaccine. Trump will not force vaccines on you. Kennedy will not force vaccines on you. That's all you need to know about the vaccine issue. But they both have taken the vaccine. They both have been pro-vaccine. They both have questioned the vaccine. But they are your choice. It is up to you. They do not want to force you to take a vaccine. That's the greatest thing that you will ever learn about both of these two candidates when it comes to vaccine. Trump cannot act like if Kennedy gets in office, he's going to force the vaccines. Kennedy is not going to force the vaccines on you at least for one simple reason. The fact that what happened with Kennedy with his voice may be a result of the vaccines. And Trump knows this. Trump put Kennedy on the Vaccine Safety Commission, the Children's Vaccine Safety Commission, back in 2016, maybe early 2017. That's what caused the whole Anthony Fauci thing way back then. We're talking about 2016, 2017. RFK Jr. is battling it out. Here's what we need to know. President Donald J. Trump gave RFK Jr. the forum to question Anthony Fauci on the vaccines, on a lot of these issues here. Back in 2016, 2017, so early on. That's a great positive thing that President Trump did, President-elect Trump did, and a great thing that RFK Jr. did. Now, everything that happened after that is where Trump needs to really face up to and say, you got it wrong. You got it wrong on that. All right, let's keep rolling.
He always has been. His family is angry at him because he's doing this. They won't talk to him because they said, where the hell did this come from?
That's not true. His family talks to him. They talk to him. They don't agree with him, but they talk to him. They have a lot of family things. But you have to remember, Trump is, he's always going to pontificate, over-exaggerate on some of these issues too. And he's generalizing a little bit.
And for some reason, he's getting probably a little bit more. Biden hurting Biden a little bit more. But we can't waste any votes. We have
he says he's hurting Biden a little bit more. So Trump recognizes that Kennedy is hurting him. Because Kennedy is not, he's not, and that is another reason why we should not treat RFK Jr. as a spoiler candidate. He's the real deal. He is a third party candidate. He is the third choice here that we've always wanted, that we need, the country needs. So that's all I want to say about that.
Make sure we win. And I'm meeting, I don't know if you read, but I'm meeting
Here we go.
Next week, very soon, with the.
Here he goes. He's saying, he's going to start now talking about the Libertarian Party convention.
Meeting next week, very soon, with the Libertarians, because largely they have so much of what we have. You know, they're also people of common sense, generally speaking.
And he has called, Donald Trump has called RFK Jr. a man of common sense several times. He's a common sense guy like I am. So Trump recognizes RFK Jr. is a common sense guy too. So you have two common sense guys showing up to the same event. And Donald Trump does not want to debate RFK Jr. Why not? Why not debate RFK Jr.? This is the perfect forum to step outside of the two-party system. And I don't believe Trump or Kennedy are really inside of this two-party system. They are really outside of the two-party system. So I know Trump needs to do certain things within the Republican Party. The Republican Party is in a civil war, just like the Democrat Party is in a civil war here too. I was hoping to see the same civil war that we see in the Republican Party. I was hoping to see the same civil war within the Democrat Party because of RFK Jr. But RFK Jr. was smart enough to recognize that if I stay in the Democrat Party and I stay in this race, there's no way that I can win. But if I run as an independent, I can win. And RFK Jr. said, since he announced it, just like Trump did, he said, if I'm gonna run, I'm gonna run to win. And I truly think that if Trump felt at some point back in 2014, 2015, 2016 that he could not win as a Republican, maybe he would have ran as a third party candidate. But here we have the guy who is pulling it all off. This is a guy named RFK Jr. who is pulling this all off, who is running as a third party candidate and doing it unlike anybody else and showing every third party candidate how you do this. He is creating a playbook that will go down in the history books, however this ends for RFK Jr. in 2024. These are historical moments. These are historical things that RFK Jr. is doing for the greater good of this country. That's the way that I see it. Let's keep on.
The things are a little different, but we have to join with them because they get their 3% every year, no matter who's running, and we have to get that 3% because we
3%. So Trump is going for the 3% of the Libertarian Party. Here, he recognizes that's a big deal. It's a big deal, and that is a big deal. But that 3% want to see Trump debate RFK Jr. on the 25th or the 26th or the 24th. They want to see this debate happen before any of these debates. This could be a big, big deal. And if Trump, it doesn't sound like Trump's really going to do it. And if he doesn't do it, that's going to hurt him within the Libertarian Party. That's going to hurt him. That's what I think. It's a bad political move. Trump does not make many bad political moves. But if Trump does not debate RFK Jr. while he's at the Libertarian Convention, next week or whenever it is, on the 20th, let me get this right, 25th or 26th. So next weekend, if Trump does not debate RFK Jr. next weekend, this is going to be a bad political move for him. This is going to be bad. This is not going to be good for any support that he wants from the Libertarian Party. Now, the problem is, it sounds like RFK Jr. is going to speak first. It seems like President Trump was announced first, but RFK Jr. was announced afterwards. And if you go to the Libertarian site, the last time that I checked, I did not see even any mention that RFK Jr. is even going to be speaking. So definitely their focus is on Donald Trump speaking. But the focus that we want to see is we want to see RFK Jr. and Donald Trump debate without Joe Biden. We don't want Joe Biden in the mix. We want some sleepy old dude sitting in the back. We want two solid, sober guys who who have been in the White House. They've both been in the White House. You can go back and you could even say, well, RFK Jr. was in the White House before Trump was. RFK Jr. wasn't the president when he was in the White House, but RFK Jr. was in the White House well before Donald Trump was ever there. Donald Trump is a self-made person. RFK Jr. had his struggles and became a self-made person too. The struggles, the trials, we look at both of them now. These are the two best candidates, and the country needs this. We need this. This country needs to get back on track. And how are we going to do that if we don't have some good choices here? How much longer can we go with just we'll choose the lesser of two evils. We're going to just choose whoever the two parties throw at us. No, we don't want that. The American people do not want that, and they haven't wanted that for a long time. That's what made Ross Perot such a big threat. That is the reason why when you go back and you look at the founding of this country, you look at the early days of the voting and how the voting system worked, it was never meant to be like this. It was never meant to be that you get two choices, the Republicans, Democrat, and that's it. That's all you get. That's all you get. You walk into a grocery store and you only get two choices. You get bread, two choices of bread, two choices of meat, two choices of milk, and that's it. No, it was never meant to be like that. You go back and you look at the way that this country was set up was to make sure that where we are right now would never happen. And it has happened. 2020 was a big deal. Two very important things happened. Two very despicable things happened. Two very shameful things happened in 2020. The first was one that was hard to get past. But the second, the voter fraud, seemed very clear. Let's go back here.
We can't take a chance on Joe Biden winning. He's the worst president in the history of our country by far. We can't have. But RFK Jr. says bad things. He calls you a terrorist group, and I call you the backbone of America. That's a big difference, wouldn't you say?
So I added this part here in this 7-minute clip, "Fly Like an Eagle." Let's say I'm a big fan, Stephen Miller Band, but this, Trump kept saying things about RFK Jr.'s views on guns, and how many times does RFK Jr. have to say that he will not take your guns? How many times, And Trump is way too smart to understand RFK Jr. is not going to take away guns. Here we go.
I'm not going to take anybody's guns away. My father was killed by guns. My uncle was killed by guns.
His father was killed by guns. His uncle was killed by guns. And he is not going to take your guns away. What else do you need to know about what his views are on guns in 2024, in 2023?
I understand how generationally that gun violence can harm societies or communities. I also understand there's more in this country and it's intolerable. School shootings are unacceptable. Mass shootings are unacceptable. We're having them every 21 hours, and that is unacceptable. Is it because of the proliferation of guns? The
Why are there
evidence
shootings?
indicates otherwise.
Why?
And let me explain this. The proportion of guns per home in this country has not increased. I think it's increased by a little less than 1% since 1970. And yet the mass shootings have proliferated beyond, started since then, and now, they're everywhere. There are other countries that have comparable numbers of guns. Switzerland, for example, the last mass shooting in Switzerland was 21 years ago. We're having mass shootings every 21 hours. Why is that? It can't be just because of the guns. It has to be something else. I've made a suggestion that we begin studying the other possible covariables. And this is what NIH should be doing. NIH should be studying, are video games contributing to that? There's social media, are the isolation, the alienation that people, could it have something to do with the proliferation of psychiatric drugs, particularly SSRIs?
But your position is that you have a view of the facts, or you believe empirically that limiting gun access wouldn't solve the problem, and therefore you don't want to limit gun access. I guess even before we go into all the comparative studies, what is the great concern? Is it a legal or constitutional concern? I mean, what is the great harm of trying to limit some of the gun access?
Well, right now we're in a part of history, as I said, where we're more polarized than ever. I grew up in Virginia. I spent 2 years living in rural Alabama, another year living in rural South Dakota, and I understand that there are large communities in this country and cultures in this country that feel a cultural attachment to their guns. They see that it's part of the Constitution.
So for you, it's partly how people feel about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I should mention many countries that have tighter gun access have far lower fatalities, have almost no mass shootings. And the United States has 4 times Switzerland per capita.
Okay,
we have more guns, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, Harry. If we talk sort of non-politically here, something happened that around the time of Columbine, where these mass shootings started happening. There's never been a time when I was a kid, we had gun clubs in our schools. People brought their guns. Kids brought 22 rifles to school. They weren't walking into classrooms and shooting people. Something changed. There has never been a time in human history where people walked into crowds of strangers and started killing them. Oh, you can't blame it completely on guns, because the gun, at the time the mass shootings increased, there was no coterminous increase in gun ownership. It has to be something else beside that. Clearly, the enormous number of guns we have in this country contributes to gun violence. But if we cut the guns, would it end the gun violence? First of all, I don't think, particularly with the very expansionist interpretation of the Second Amendment that the Supreme Court has given, there's very little room.
That's certainly the legal reality.
We do it on the margins, and that's not going to change anything. But what it will do is it will increase the insecurity, the anger, the distrust, the suspicion of those people who feel very strongly about that issue.
Yeah.
And so for me, it does not seem like I've made the commitment. I'm not going to take people's guns.
There it is. He's not going to take people's guns. That's the biggest thing. And he also we need to look at the medication we're giving to our children. Why are we medicating our children in this way? Why are we giving some of these things to our children when we talk about these mass shootings? And what is the if all these mass shooters are taking pills? Where's the coming out? I mean, it's so crazy. But I really love the way that Kennedy breaks that down. God bless you all. I will be back next time. And don't forget the most important thing. Jesus Christ loves you. And so do I. God loves you.